Hey, good morning, everybody. David McLeod here, connecting with you here from Northern California. We're having a couple of little technical glitches because we're using the newer version of Webinar Jam here, and we haven't figured out all of the moving parts yet. So forgive us if there's a little bit of a delay, but we are here, we're live. And as I said, I'm here in Northern California. California. I've said that before, and I'm wondering what that really means. But anyway, my buddy Tommy is here, and so I'm going to just introduce him. Welcome, Tommy, and how's it going, bro?
Hey, David. Going well. We were chatting fine a little while ago. I'm not sure. Hopefully this delay. Tell me how it's going. Is it still pretty delayed?
Yeah, it seems to be a delay between the audio and the video, but just go for it. We'll do our best.
It feels like maybe a 1 second delay. Maybe people's minds will settle into it. So here we go. So this week, we're going to talk to you about letting go. And we have a perfect example right here of letting go of things that we can't control, right? So trying hard to let go. What does that mean? What are we trying to let go of? Why is it important to let go? And that's just the intro to today's talk. So I know a lot of you out there have already expressed the need that this is the perfect thing I need in my life right now. And we kicked this off even at our anniversary celebration where we asked people what they had let go of in the last year. And a lot of people had to have let something go in order to rise up. It's almost like you're in a balloon, right? And you want to take off a hot air balloon. You got to let go of some weight. You got to let go of some things so that balloon starts to rise. So David, let's just go. Let's just go with it. What are we talking about letting go of these days? What's going on?
Yeah, well, I think it's a great question, Tommy, and I think one of the aspects of it that I think we ought to talk about is, what does it really mean? I mean, letting go. I mean, some people can think, well, letting go could be like giving up. It could be like giving in and not, owning yourself, not owning who you really are. It could mean a whole variety of things, and it has a different series of contexts. And the word that I really like is the word surrender, which actually means to melt over. You know what I mean? It kind of to melt onto, to just kind of let yourself go. And it really isn't about giving up. It's not about saying my life is over and I have to just allow everything around me to take over and run my life. It's more about recognizing that there are certain parts of my life that I can influence or control, and certain parts that are beyond my influence or control, that it serves me not at all to try and imagine that I can control them. And in fact, if I do try to control those things that are outside of my sphere of influence, all I really end up doing is creating a lot of angst and frustration and agitation and all that kind of stuff that goes on in my life. So that's kind of, I think, where we're going with this whole notion of letting go. Does that resonate for you?
Yeah, it absolutely does. And the Wizard of Oz flashes into mind, and I'll come back to that in a minute. But it's not a weakness, right? Surrendering, some people think, oh, I surrender, and it's a weakness, like I give up. It's not that at all. It's a very empowering practice. And what we're surrendering is what's no longer serving us. So going back to that, in the hot air balloon, and that's near the end of the Wizard of Oz, after the witch writes what up on the sky? What does the witch write with her broom across the sky?
I'm sorry, I don't remember.
It says surrender, Dorothy.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's right. Now I remember, yeah.
And it's a really, if you watch that movie with the mindset of really letting go of, the ego mind, all the things that are holding you back, all the beliefs about yourself and how you're not good enough. And you think about Dorothy going through this, that's what she had to do. She had to let go of her fears and her beliefs, her fear of the witch, and she pours water on the witch, and that's all it takes, and the fear goes away. But near the end of that movie, it's the hot air balloon, and they're trying to take off. And you need to surrender. You need to let go of stuff. You need to let go of what's holding you down, the baggage, the stuff we're carrying around with us. And it's a very uplifting. It's a very empowering. It's a very powerful practice. So there's no weakness involved in this at all. It actually takes ultimate strength to let go of things.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. And I think I've actually had that experience myself many times in my life. When I finally just realized that, I really don't have control over these situations that I imagine I do have control over. When I let go of that, when I finally say, okay, it'll be what it will be. There's just a huge amount of relief, a huge amount of energy that just kind of flows out of me. And all of a sudden, I am just here now. I'm just here, actually here now. Isn't that interesting? I said that. I'm present. You know, I'm no longer caught up in the, oh, there goes my hand again, in that cycle of babble that's going on in my head. And so it makes life much easier to just relax into and to enjoy and feel more pleasure and love in my life. So yeah, it's a beautiful metaphor, very important.
It's beautiful and it's powerful, right? It's not a power hungry place, but it's a very powerful place. And so the letting go, the control issue is a huge one, right? So there's different things habits that we have in our life that kind of keep us locked in, that keep us, you know, tied down to the ground, that keep us, things that we need to let go of. And sometimes, you know, we think about letting go from above, but also we can let go of the weight that's holding us, right? We can let go of the chains and the heaviness and the anchors. And control is a big one. And control is a freaking funny one. And it's a weird one too, because how often do we want to control things, right? We want to control the outcome of situations. We want to control our finances. We want to control other people in our life. We want to control things so we feel safe. Control is a safety issue. It's an ego-based safety issue. Yet, flip this one back. How many people like being controlled? How many people like it when somebody's putting control on you or trying to control you? Like, leave me alone, right? So we're giant hypocrites when it comes to control. And when we realize what we can control, like you said, our sphere of influence, we can influence. Our sphere of control is what's between these ears. I can only control me. And when you start to release the stuff in your life that you can't control, you're right, David, it just, a big weight lifts off. And you said it brilliantly. When you let go of those blocks are, you know, things about the future, things that I want to control the future, or things I didn't control in the past and I want to fix. And we let go of those weights, and what happens? Right into the moment you come. Because your chatter isn't pulling you into the future. It's not pulling you into the past anymore. So control is a beautiful thing to talk about letting go of. It's a big, big thing.
Well, you asked the question, how many people like to be in control? And I will bet, I will bet the number is like 100%. I really think that all of us like to be in control, which of course poses a problem, because if I want to be in control and you want to be in control, then that's when the clash begins. That's when we butt heads. That's when we get against each other. That's when, you know, our egos really start to get into play. And, you know, I have to say, how many people like to be controlled? Well, I guess there are times, I have to admit, there are times in my life when I actually would prefer to have the other person in my relationship make a decision. And I can go with the flow in that case. So in that case, I do give up control in order to allow the other person to make the control or to make the decision on my behalf. And I'm okay with that sometimes. But when I have a desire to, I guess, express myself or to be fully involved in something, clearly in those cases, I don't want to have someone squashing me down in order to make space for them to have whatever they want to do. So we got to find a way to dance with each other and to support each other in being what I call sovereign beings of integrity. And the only way we can do that is to recognize that the other person has just as much right to some control as I do. And so I have to let go. I really have no choice in the matter. So that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, if you want that kind of that open relationship, that freedom to, you know, be each other, to be your own self and to express in that relationship, you really have to let go of control. And just letting somebody else make decisions doesn't mean that they're controlling you, right? Like, you know what, today I want to just go with whatever you want to do. That doesn't mean that person's controlling me. I'm just decided I've let go of my penchant to control, and I just want to go with the flow, like you said. So it's a great, and talking about one-on-one relationships is a really pertinent point of discussion about control. Because sovereign being, to me, I do this when I talk to people about relationship. When you come into a relationship that you're coming into a an open relationship that you want to keep beautifully connected and free and just get the love flowing, you come in as 100% of a being. I don't know if you can see me. Yeah. And when you're that 100% of a being, the other 100% of a being shows up too. Now you're not, two halves of a whole. You're two wholes, and you're there to love each other and to support each other. And that means not a lot. Don't control. Don't try to control me. I won't try to control you. Right. You got to let go of a lot of habitual relationship patterns that we have of trying to control somebody else, trying to change them, trying to make them mold them into what you want them to be. Oh my gosh, you want to kill a relationship? Try to change somebody else.
Exactly.
Over.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's something that you said in there that just triggered a thought in me. You talked about, all right, today I'm just deciding to let go and let you have, make the decisions. Well, in a way, what you're doing is you're controlling your own surrender. And it just hit me. I said, yeah, I get to decide whether it's up to me to surrender or not. It's up to me to trust. And let's face it, what is control but a fear of what's going to happen and trying to control all the elements so that you can be safe. And if I can't be safe, that's because I don't trust my environment. That's really what's going on. So I'm trying to control my environment in order to keep myself safe so that I can start to build that level of trust again. I think that's a complicated, series of interactions, but that's really what it's all about. And when I get to that place of trust, I can surrender easily.
Yeah, it's definitely a counter. I'm not going to say counterintuitive because intuition knows to let go of control. It's a counter thought. It's a counter mind game. It's a counter ego thing. The ego that wants to protect and wants to keep you safe says, I got to control everything. I got to control this. I got to control that person. And really, David, control is not a bad word if we're pointing at ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we do need to control ourselves. We talk about shadow work. We talk about the chatter relaxer. That's a matter of getting our mind under control, getting our ego under control. And that's a good type of control. We need to control ourselves. And that's the only thing you can control. When it comes to your sphere of control, it stops at the exterior of your body. And when you get good at what we're teaching people with Life Matters TV, as you untie the knots and undo the noise in your head, you have more and more control, right? To respond nicely, to be kind, to not react and get in fights and butt heads. That's reacting, and that means that we don't have control yet. So inner control, good thing. Outer control, you got to realize what you can and can't, because otherwise it becomes such a frustrating life too, right? Yeah. Expectations of how other people are going to behave and how this is going to work, and the perfect relationship looks like this. All that is expectation and control. And the sooner you can let go of that, it's hard. It's hard letting go. That's what we're talking about, trying hard to let go.
Yeah. And that's just the point, isn't it? It is. It's an effort. It's an effort to let go, because part of the effort means recognizing what's going on up here. And then saying, oh yeah, I'm doing it again. I'm trying to control things. And just being gentle with yourself. It's important. Always, 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 always love yourself and love your ego mind, because it's actually trying to do you a favor. It might not know quite how to do it, but it has a limited perspective that's based in the physical world. And what you need to do is remind your ego mind that you are much more than a physical being. You are a magnificent, divine, unlimited, endless spiritual being of light and love, and the ego kind of constrains you in this world. And the truth is, there is nothing to control, because you're all part of a big, giant love fest. We're all love. That's what we are. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm rambling now.
No, you're trying to wrap around this whole concept of letting go and what happens when you do. Yeah. And you're right. The more you let go, the more you realize that you are part of everything. The more peaceful your mind becomes. The more powerful you become in your presence. The more people like to be around you. The more happy you are. The more friendly you are. Right? All these things come That's, you want to call that love? Yeah, that we just kind of get into that space of love, and however that manifests. That's letting go of the control, because the control is an ego-based mind thing. The letting go and trusting is a higher self spiritual aspect.
Absolutely.
A sense of knowing.
Yeah.
And when we let go of all this pattern, all this noise, and all this control, and all this head stuff going on, what else happens is, and you know this too, you start to feel different. You start to feel better. You start to feel right. And that feeling is also, it's the emotions, it's the feelings, but it's also your energy ability to sense energy and to give and take energy at a human level. And that gets into our intuition. That gets into our insight. That gets into our intelligence. That gets into interacting nicely with people. And it's that letting go of their control and the mind, managed life. And the more you can get into the flow, and that's what we're talking about. That's what matters in my life.
Right. Yeah. And, we've been talking about relationship too. And I think obviously every relationship that we have, whether it's a romantic, committed, loving, even sexual relationship or not, every relationship puts us directly into connection with this whole concept of surrender and control. Sometimes we want to control the situation. Sometimes we want to control the other person. And then there are times when we want to let the other person have that flow as well. So there's a way in which we reflect each other. There's a way in which we see each other and we reflect each other. And maybe we don't see this on a conscious or on a physical level, but we sure see it on a spiritual level. We look at the other person and we say in so many ways, wow, you're just like me with a slightly different flavor, or something like that. It's pretty amazing, this whole concept of relationship. And when we're in relationship, that's when the ego mind can start to come up too, because remember, it's all based on keeping us safe, based on the history that we've had thus far in our physical life. It looks at all the past events that have happened, and it sees something showing up that looks similar but maybe isn't quite the same, and it tries to protect us, saying, oh, if you do this, that's going to happen. Look out, watch out. The bad guy's going to come up. He's going to beat you. You've got to control this situation. Bring out the army. Come on, fire first before that's what's going on in the ego mind. And we have to let that go. We have to stop that, because all we're doing is we're putting gasoline on the fire is what we're doing.
You were pontificating beautifully, and I don't know if this is captured on the film or not, but it was very we were losing connection a little bit, and it was very like Max Headroom. It was very hilarious. So hopefully, but your message was there. I heard through the bits and the bites what you were saying. Yeah, and when it comes to relationship, here's what pops into my mind. And every time you get on an airplane and the oxygen masks, they're gonna pop down. You say they got to put yours on, and then you assist others. And that's true with relationship too. We've got to let go of our own desire to control, and then we'll be better able to be in a relationship in that way too. So we've got to take care of ourselves first. Make sure that we're letting go of controlling the control freak inside. And then when it comes to relationship, it'll be much more open and loving and a nice exchange, and not the grabbing and the pulling and the tugging and the fighting and all the silliness that we get into. Because you're right, we're brought up in a society that is based in that. When you talk about the rat race, well, the race is what? If somebody wins, somebody else loses. That's what happens in a race. And you're not going to win them all, so you're going to be a loser part of the time too.
Probably most of the time.
Right? Yeah. Right. If there's only one winner, and if I'm climbing the corporate ladder and I'm stepping on you along the way, and we carry that mentality, that rat race mentality, it's a win-lose mentality. We carry it into our relationships. We carry it into our family life. We carry, just because it's so entrenched in how humans behave on this planet right now. And I've said this before, and I'm going to keep saying it. I've abandoned the human race. Not abandoned them, left them behind, but I've stepped out of it. I'm rejoining humankind, where I like kindness better. I like win-wins. I like, interacting with people on an open, free, non-control basis. And it's just a much more peaceful, happy way to be.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
but where it's ingrained, like you said, David, it's in there. It's like fight the war, and we got to put down that sword.
Well, yeah, on top of that, I mean, look at our society. It glorifies war. I mean, it glorifies competition to the maximum extent possible, as if that is the only way to live. They talk about a competitive free market system. They talk about, competitive companies. That's what keeps prices down and all the rest of that crap. There's plenty of other ways we could keep prices down, and there's plenty of other ways that we could bring beautiful products into the world. It doesn't have to be competitive. And in that sense, coming back to what you said before about I have to take care of myself, we have to take care of ourselves first. I put my own mask on before I put on my friend's mask or my child's mask or whatever. That is a really important metaphor. What it's really saying is, I can't sit here and wait for you to do your work. I got to do my work. I can't wait for you to look inside and take care of your ego mind and start letting go of your need for control. I got to do my work around letting go of my need for control. And that's the only way this will work for me. And maybe when I do that work and you witness me doing that work, then you might say, wow, I see you're feeling a lot more peaceful, a lot more relaxed. I think I want some of that. How did you do that?
That's the way it works, man. That's what Mahatma Gandhi said. We need to be the change we wish to see in the world.
Exactly.
Right? We can't be pointing blame. You talked about this wonderfully last week, and that the second you start pointing fingers out there and blaming, that's the wrong way of going about this. We need to look inside and, what can we control? What's going on inside? What can't we control? What do we need to let go of? The only thing we can control is ourselves. And if we try to fix things out there, right? Tell people what to do or how to behave. Even that, like you said, it doesn't work, because then we're trying to control other people again. We're trying to control somebody else's behavior. We're trying to control how the world is acting. We're trying to control how the world is competing and comparing and doing all that nonsense that it does right now. No, you're right. We need to be the change. And then as more and more of us do it, people take notice, whether they're people in your sphere of influence that see you and say, I want some of that. I want to come to your class. I want to watch the Soul Talk guys talk about life matters. I want to share this with my friends, because this is the only way it's going to work.
Yeah.
Got to do it ourselves. So it's about us letting go of control.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you've noticed, Tommy, and maybe some of our viewers have noticed too, but I'm a little more agitated than usual today. And that's because I'm going through a little bit of this myself right now. I about 6 weeks ago, I met this absolutely amazing woman, and I fell in love with her pretty damn quickly, and I could feel this is just a beautiful relationship. Everything about it seemed absolutely perfect. And yet she's got stuff going on in her life that makes it difficult for us to be in connection. And that has been really difficult for me. I am so wanting to change this whole thing and somehow find a way to take away all her life situation so that I can be with her. But that's not going to happen, because it's not up to me to fix her situation, but that's what my ego mind is doing right now. It's getting me all caught up in all these stories, and it's keeping me from being fully present to who I am and to the love I feel in my heart. And just allow this relationship to take whatever shape it's going to take. That's the challenge that I'm facing right now. And I can feel the energies, the ego energy and the spirit energy just kind of going at each other. And so, you remember the picture I put out for the registration. I've got the kind of the angel with the sword and the devil with the pitchfork, and they're kind of, fighting, squaring off around the poor guy in the middle who's me. And that's kind of how it feels right now. And I'm sure other people can relate to that in their lives. So the question is, Tommy, what do we do about it?
Oh, that's it. You're just gonna dump on me like that, huh? What do we do?
Well, you're the doctor.
No, I'm not. You are actually, doctor. I don't have a PhD. What do we do about what, man? What do we do about standing in relationship and just letting go? That's it. You need to let the other person be totally themselves. I used to have a list. I used to have a list in my head of what the perfect person was going to be, my perfect partner. And it used to be a nutty list, right? Including color of hair and color of eyes and height and physical fitness and education level and blah, 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 blah. And somebody taught me, the whole list writing exercise, write it out. And I did once, and I was like, oh my God. And that list changes every time I watch a movie. I'm like, oh, I like that personality trait. You scratch it out and you put another one in. You do this in your freaking head. That's the ego, creating this list of what a perfect person is supposed to be like. And then you try to find that perfect person. That's just a ridiculous way of going about things. And there was a time in my life when I let go of all that. And here are two things that came to me. And there was a song I was listening to at the time, and it said, I want to find somebody that I just openly just want to love. And the lyric in the line was, I bring nothing but love for you. I bring nothing but love for you. That was okay, if I'm going to have a list, I'm going to have two things on it. And the other line of the song was, I want nothing that you can't do. Meaning I want to find somebody that I just want to support, that I just want to love, and I just want to put on a pedestal a bit, without expectation, without changing them, without anything. Just accept them as they are and just be gracious that I get to spend time with them, whatever time there is, even if it's a little bit or if it's a whole lifetime, whatever. And I just feel love for that person. And those are my two things on my list. And that's all I have. And I have a wonderful relationship based on those two basic principles. And that's what it's like for me. And that's where you said, two divine beings, and we just support each other. There's no changing, there's no expectation, there's no strings attached, there's no hooks. When they come up, because the ego wants to hook them, we actually talk about them and try to untangle them again. So we're standing as two individual souls living this life together and kind of in the flow together. Sometimes we're together physically, sometimes we're separate, but that's just how you kind of can dance with it.
Yeah.
That answers your question, but you put a question to me and it came out.
Oh, actually, it's great. It's great. And it's funny that you talk about writing out this list. I remember quite a few years ago, I was in between marriages, and I decided, somebody had said, write a list. Write down the list of all the things you want. So I did. I wrote down a list of all the things I want, and pretty amazingly, the woman I ended up marrying the second time around actually had a lot of those characteristics. And I was stunned. I mean, I wrote the list and I kind of forgot about it. I just never really thought about it anymore. But that's what happened. And she showed up, and it was a wonderful relationship for about 10 years we were together. And I got a lot out of it. I really loved that woman too. But things shift, things change. We kind of grew apart, and that's what happened. So now this time I have no list at all. I have no list at all. I am like you. I just want to be in a loving spiritual relationship. And I can do that with anybody. Mm-hmm. I can do that with anybody. It doesn't have to be a particular shape or size or hair color or any of that crap. I mean, when I see the person, I'll know, because the energy will just speak to me, and that's precisely what happened here in this case. That I was communicating on a level that had nothing to do with the mind. It was all about heart. I could feel it. And it was so amazing. I thought, wow, this is great. I want more of this. And that's really, I think, where I am right now. I want more of this. And so that's what I'm having a hard time letting go of. Letting go of, well, hey, I'm not having more of this right now. I really want more because I really like it.
That's an expectation. That's a list. That's something on a list. But I want to spend time, a certain amount of time. That's still something on a list. Yeah. So you're doing it. You've got it, man. I think we're at the bottom of the top of our time here. We've covered a lot.
Yeah, but we started late. We can go a couple extra minutes, I think.
All right.
I think this is such a great topic. I think I'm sure that the people who watch this show, everybody has a challenge with this notion of letting go. And I can't prescribe something that guarantees that you'll be able to let go. But what I can do is I can tell you that if you just recognize that you're trying to hang on, if you just recognize that you're really trying to grasp onto something, well, you have the power to stop doing that. You have the power to choose something else instead. You have the power to say, wow, this is what I'm doing. I am going to just love myself and forgive myself, and I'm just going to love whoever else, whatever else out there that I'm trying to control. I'm just going to love it, because my love is what's going to heal it. Not the grasping and the controlling. That isn't going to do any good at all. But the love, if I just love and let go, man, that's going to take care of it. There's nothing else we can do. There's nothing else we have to do.
That's all we can do. For a quick exercise to parlay onto that, David, write a list. If you have a trouble in your life, whether it's trouble with a boss, or trouble with a relationship, or trouble with a situation in life, write down your list of what you expect in that situation. What are you expecting? What are you trying to control? And then look at that list and look at, what do I really have control over? Do the control test on it. If you can't control it, you'll start to let go, right? If you realize I can't control the way that other person's going to respond, well, then that starts to let go of things. So
and before you go on, Tommy, just say a little bit more. I like this. You said the control test. So what exactly is a control test? How do I know when I can control something or when I can't?
So there's three things you can control. The only thing you can't control is yourself. So if you list things, items that you are trying to, you have expectations of something. I can't control somebody's hair color. I can't control somebody's eye color. I can't control, right, somebody's education level. There's things I can control, and it comes pretty clear that it's only me, my action, my interaction, my behavior, my thoughts, my emotions. I can control those. Then there's a sphere of influence. And those are the people around me that the people who are listening to this talk, and you and I, you influence me, I influence you, just because we agreed to share space together. And then there's a sphere of not much. I call it the snot zone, S-N-O-T, the sphere of not much. And really like 99% of the world is you have no control over and no influence over. And if you take this list of expectations that we have in our head about a certain situation or a certain relationship, and we realize that we can't control it, it helps you release. It's one of a really firm mechanism to letting go. It's just a great tool to be able to let go and just practice this, letting go. Sphere of control, right here. Sphere of influence, okay, but I can only influence things. I can't make it happen. And then sphere of not much, poof. I can't, it just relieves some burdens off your back too. That some things you worry about, like you worry about war, you worry about starvation, you worry about suffering all over the planet. There's an element of compassion in there that you can have, but you can't control it, right? And a lot of it you can't even influence yet. So sometimes we just have to take it off our list. And it just, like you said, once you let go of control, things start feeling a lot lighter.
Absolutely. Well, I got to tell you, I mean, just having had this half hour with you has helped me lighten up, even knowing this challenge that I'm going through in this relationship that I really do want. I know that the only way I'm going to have it is by letting it go. It's not going to be something that I can have by grabbing and holding on to. I have to just let it go. So it's been really good for me to just have this opportunity to share and to talk about it with you, and also to share it with the folks out there. I mean, it's not unusual for us to tell what's going on in our lives, and I hope people get benefit from that. I really do.
I know they do.
Yeah. But folks, I want to tell you, next week, we're going to be taking this topic. We've been talking, kind of moving along a path. You may have noticed that for the last little while. And next week, we're going to continue. So our topic next week is going to be called the happiness myth. What's that going to look like, Tommy?
The happiness myth is our ego mind saying, when I get stuff out there, when stuff out there aligns, when that person shows up more in my life, I'll be happy. Where we're never going to be happy with, dealing with other people's expectations and other things out there. So the happiness myth, the pursuit of happiness, we have to kind of turn it inside again, like we always do. Life matters. It's a matter of you. And next week we'll explore that. So David, fantastic talk today. Thanks always, my brother, for your openness and love and your integrity.
Thank you, Tommy. Same to you. Goodbye, everybody.